We have reviewed. So it is 11 a.m. and I call the February 10th, 2025 meeting of Texas Space Commission Board of Directors to order. Before I begin, I ask that we all silence our phones, our devices. Let me make sure I've done the same. Okay. And please follow along.
Chair Gwen Griffin,
Here.
Vice Chair Kathy Leaders,
Here.
Secretary Kirk Shireman,
Here.
Dr. Nancy Curry Gregg.
Here.
Evan Loomis,
Here.
Brad Morrison,
Here.
John Shannon,
Here.
Sassy Duggleby,
Here.
Dr. Heather Wilson. She's coming in. She's connecting now, but not on yet. We got it.
All right. So good morning, everyone. Thank you guys for being here, and to my fellow directors and to the staff in particular. I really appreciate your continued focus, working through more than 280 applications thoughtfully and thoroughly while complying with all the requirements that we must. I know it's been a lot, particularly on the staff, for the staff, as well as the board. We know you have other day jobs. So again, thank you all. I appreciate that we all take this as seriously as we have. So again, thank you. So let's move to agenda item 3, approval of our last meeting minutes. You have them in your board book that Blake shared. So consider approval of the minutes from our January 24th, 2025 meeting. That is tab 2 in your board book if you have a chance to open that. And my question is, do the minutes accurately reflect our meeting, or do you have any edits or modifications? So, approval of those minutes for January 24th, 2025 meeting of the Texas Space Commission Board. Brad has made a motion, and may I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kirk. And good morning, Dr. Wilson. Please make sure, one reminder as we get into this, that you unmute when we do take a vote and have your videos on. That's required for our records. So all in favor of approving the minutes from the January 24th Texas Space Commission meeting, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. The meetings from January 24th are approved. I'd like to turn it over to Norman for his executive director remark.
Thank you, ma'am. 5 comments to share with everybody. Last week, we had a very successful day at the Capitol with 2 briefings conducted by Major General Greg Gagnon from the Space Force, the Deputy Chief of Operations for Intelligence. He provided an overview of the Space Force mission and also highlighted access to and the use of space systems as critical to national security interests. There were approximately a handful, not quite a full dozen of legislators, and I believe at least between the 2 sessions, over 50 staffers who attended those 2 sessions as well. So great day on that. Today, we have Mr. Jim Bridenstine, former NASA administrator, former member of Congress from Oklahoma, here in town for meetings with Gwen and myself at the Capitol with legislators and staff. Later this week, the chair and I will be in DC for 2 conferences, the Commercial Space Conference and the Space Foundation Conference. Hopefully we can get up there ahead of storm. Last week, I'd like to highlight Dr. Wilson was invited to testify wearing her UTEP president hat before the U.S. House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology at the invitation of Dr. Babbitt. So just want to make everybody aware of that. And then lastly, the commission staff continue processing applications and fielding questions, as well as receiving input from unrelated communications regarding grants from many, many stakeholders. So I just want to thank the staff and the board for your time and attention to this very important process. Thank you.
I'd like to give the floor to TARSEC Chair Stephanie Murphy I'll get my pen together. Let's get it going. So to provide a report from the executive committee. Stephanie, over to you.
Thanks, Gwen. Good morning. So not a lot has happened since the last board meeting report that I gave, but a couple things. We did have our workshop in Austin, which was focused on infrastructure. A very successful workshop there in Austin. It was at the AT&T Conference Center on the UT campus. So in the 3 workshops that we've held, Austin, San Antonio, and Houston, in the last 3 months, TARSEC has had over 600 registrants at those events. So they've been well received, well attended for short notice and limited resources to get the word out. So we're really happy with that. We had a ton of engagement at the one in Austin, and we're trying to whittle that down into meaningful information that we can use. On the housekeeping side, we are going through a process of developing our website. We're going to put together a subcommittee of the TARSEC Executive Committee to work on that, along with Jessica Saders, who's the project manager assigned to TARSEC through the TAMU system. So we're buying domain names right now. Tarsec.space, I think, is the one we've landed, working on tarsec.org. We'll be getting that set up so that the members have a place to go and a place to log in to access the information. We are submitting a couple of legislative updates. I believe the TARSEC attorney, Julie, has been working directly with Joseph to get an initial set of legislative recommendations in the queue and kind of on his radar. And there's a couple more that we'll be submitting over the next couple of weeks that we're working on as an executive committee, just things to help button up or clarify things that we see in the legislation. And then our next event that we are planning is a workshop in South Texas that will likely be in Brownsville in the month of May. We're trying to do that back to back with a major STEM event that's going on in South Texas. And so we're going to start planning on that and hoping we can bolster the attendance if we get some attendees who are there in town for the STEM event as well. So Kathy, I'll probably be calling you on that one in the next couple of days. Let me see what else I can update on my list. The last thing is we did have an executive committee planning meeting. We met in person in Austin. All of our executive committee was there, and we decided that we're going to really work on developing our process to take all this input that we're gathering from our events, whittle it down, and turn that over to the TSC as a framework that you can use to guide the funding awards that you're doing on the next round, and maybe help set up some proposal categories. So that's coming, just letting you know we're working that procedure. We may be reaching out to individual members of the commission to gather some input from you about the best way to make that work. So be on the lookout for some notices from us. That's being led by Matt Onler and Rob Ambrose are the ones taking the lead on working that process. And then finally, we're working on our heat map to try to document the infrastructure across the state. That will be coming after we get the website up and going, and after we've had our next series of workshops, one in Brownsville. We're also targeting one for Dallas, Fort Worth. We haven't set a date for that yet. We'll let you know as soon as we get on to that. So that's the report I have for today. Thanks so much for the time.
Great, thanks, Stephanie. And so glad you guys have had such a strong turnout for the workshops. I heard great things about the Austin event. So thank you for that. And we'll look forward to if Matt and Rob have any questions for any of us individually, always happy to respond. So thank you again. So next step, consideration of CERT applications. The process will be the same as our last meeting. Any questions before we begin? All right, relevant details on the applications before us today are in your board book in tab 3. So in accordance with Texas Space Commission rules, if a board member has a conflict of interest, as described in those rules, the board member will disclose that conflict of interest in this open meeting as the matter arises and recuse herself or himself from participating in the review, discussion, deliberation, and vote on that matter. Board members have already disclosed their written notice as required by the rules, and they have not accessed information regarding the applications in which they are conflicted. A brief reminder to those in attendance today, this board takes seriously the responsibility that we've been assigned by statute and the trust that's been placed in us by those who appointed us, the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the speaker of the House. As such, any comments made by a director in the course of this discussion in a public meeting should be taken as each member carrying out his or her duties on behalf of the Texas Space Commission. We are not speaking on behalf of our company, organization, or institution. Each of us brings wide-ranging experience in the aerospace, aeronautics, and aviation sectors, and ultimately, we strive to apply that knowledge diligently and openly in our roles as members of this board. So first, we have application 25-0084B for Intuitive Machines. For the record, I understand that Dr. Curry Gregg, Evan Loomis, and Kirk Shireman have disclosed a conflict of interest on this application. Do any other board members have a conflict of interest on this application for Intuitive Machines? Okay. Application 25-0084B is a grant application from Intuitive Machines for research and development. This project is for the development of a commercial orbital return vehicle designed to launch on low-cost ride shares, perform autonomous manufacturing and scientific operations in orbit, and return for offloading, refurbishment, and reuse. Members, is there any discussion on application 25-0084B? Do I have a motion to approve the award regarding application 25-0084B in the amount of up to $10 million for research and development, conditioned on the applicant's successful completion of the Commission's administrative background assessment and acceptance of grant agreement terms?
I move.
Thank you, Kathy. May I have a second?
I second.
Second.
Was the second first one, John?
Oh, John, and you're not participating, so anybody can do it.
Evan, Dr.
Sorry.
Isker, and Kirk.
I take my second back.
Sorry.
All right, so Kathy moved for approval and John had seconded the motion. All in favor of approving that are not conflicted on application 25-0084B, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, next we have application 25-0064B from SpaceX. For the record, I understand that Vice Chair Kathy Leaders has disclosed a conflict of interest on this application. Do any other board members have a conflict of interest on this application? Application 25-0064B is a grant application for SpaceX for construction costs. This project is to construct a new vertical integration facility to accelerate Starship and Super Heavy production, integration, and refurbishment rates to support planned launch cadences. Members, is there any discussion on application 25-0064B? Do I have a motion to approve the award regarding application 25-0064B in the amount of up to $7.5 million for construction, conditioned on the applicant's successful completion of the Commission's administrative background assessment and acceptance of grant agreement terms?
So move.
And may I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kurt. All in favor of approving application 25-0064B, say aye.
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 Any opposed? At this time, I'll hand the meeting over to Vice Chair Kathy Leaders for further consideration of applications.
Thank you, Gwen. Next, we have application 25-0100B from Blue Origin, Texas. Chair Griffin is recused from discussion and voting on this application. Do any board members have a conflict of interest on this application? Okay, application 250100B is a grant application from Blue Origin, Texas LLC for construction equipment and research and development costs. This project would provide subcooling capacity at Blue Origin's horizontal first stage booster engine test facility, allowing new thrust capacity for each booster engine by utilizing more energy-dense propellants. The applicant has also indicated a willingness for this to be a shared use facilities. Members, is there any discussion on application 25-0100B? Do I have a motion to approve the award regarding application 25-0100B in the amount of up to $7 million for eligible costs, conditioned on the applicant's successful completion of the commission's administrative background assessments and acceptance of grant agreement terms?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Let me see. I'll take you, Evan. Was that you? Okay, cool. Okay. All in favor of approving application 25-0100B, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Okay, and that is passed. Next, we have application 25-0002-B from Star Lab Space LLC. Chair Griffin is recused from discussion and voting on this application. Do any other board members have a conflict of interest on this application? Okay, application 25-0002-B is a grant application from Star Lab Space LLC for construction equipment and research and development costs. This funding is for development of a systems integration lab that can be used by multiple entities within the commercial space station ecosystem. Members, is there any discussion on application 25-0002-B? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the award regarding application 25-0002-B in the amount of up to $15 million for eligible costs, conditioned on the applicant's successful completion of the commission's administrative background assessments and acceptance of grant agreement terms?
So moved.
Okay, so I'm going to take John as a first and Kirk as a second. All in favor of approving application 25-0002-B, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Any abstentions? For some reason, I can't say that word with the life of me. Sorry. Okay. That's passed. Next, we have application 25-0103-B from Firefly Aerospace Incorporated. Chair Griffin is recused from discussion and voting on this application. Do any board members have a conflict of interest on this application? Okay, application 25-0103-B is a grant application from Firefly Aerospace Incorporated for up to $8.2 million for construction and equipment. This project would expand development capabilities in Firefly's Texas Spacecraft Development Center for spacecraft production. The program would also expand internships and student access to industry facilities in partnership with the University of Texas System. Members, is there any discussion on application 25-0103-B? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the award regarding application 25-0103-B in the amount of up to $8.2 million for eligible costs, conditioned on the applicant's successful completion of the commission's administrative background assessments and completion of grant agreement terms.
So moved.
Was that Brad?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and may I have a second?
Second. Sassy.
And Sassy. Okay. All in favor of approving application 25-0103-B, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Okay, that would pass. With that, Gwen, I'll turn the meeting back over to you.
All right, thanks, Kathy. This concludes this agenda item, and I look forward to our next meeting where we consider additional third grants. So next on our agenda, we're continuing to poll for future dates in March for meeting, as well as I know we have a date that can date aligned for everyone for later in February. So I think we have a week or so before we will post a notice for the next meeting. So any discussion on coming meetings? You know, we want to keep the cadence pretty regular here. All
Hey,
right.
Kathy, or I'm sorry, Gwen, I'm just, I think Texas Space Day is in March. And I don't know if the other directors are planning, but maybe that would be a great date for a meeting in the afternoon or something like that in a non-interference with some of the other activities. So just a suggestion.
A great idea, Kurt. That's on March 25th, I believe, which is a Tuesday. All right, we will take a look at that as an option for one of our meetings. Thanks for bringing that up, Kirk, and we do hope that many of those in the room and those on screen or virtually will participate in Space Day Texas and make it it's been I don't know how many years Space Day Texas has been happening, but a long, long time. And but our first with the commission leading the charge there. So thanks for that, Kirk. Thank you all for being here, participating online. Is there any other further business to attend to from the directors? Okay, hearing none, the meeting is adjourned at 11:23 a.m. Thank you guys and have a great